It'll be one to go this time by. Coming to the green, buddy. Coming to the green. Let's go get him. Go, go, go. Dig, dig, dig. Go, 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 go.
Get your motor running. Head out on the highway.
Just a phenomenal job by all the guys at the shop, and really got to thank Jason Radcliffe, Dave Rogers, and all the boys that have been on this team that deserve to be on this team here at the racetrack that weren't, but they just did such a great job in paying attention to detail and being able to put this car together and making it a phenomenal car to drive. So just honored to be a part of this team, and to drive the Z-Line Toyota here tonight to Victory Lane was pretty awesome. And so these guys all deserve the credit, and I was just the one out there being able to wheel the thing. So really a fast race car.
All right, we'll now open up to questions from the media. We've got a call up in the press box. No questions, press box. Questions here. We'll start with Jeff.
Jeff Clark from NASCAR Scene. You got a bunch of people up on your pit box, Addington. What did it mean for you to have him out there, supporting you in this? I mean, obviously he doesn't have to do it. Was that a nice deal for you?
It is. It's a comfortable voice on the radio, and a guy that's been a part of me for this year and the success that we've had on the Cup side. So, to have Addington and, we had a ton of guys up there. We had Mike Sibley from the East-West deal that we've got at Gibbs Racing, and then we also had Curtis Markham up there. We had Steve, and so everybody that just plays a part to this team. Steve doesn't take any of the credit. He was just in and out, did the congratulations and didn't stay for any of the photos. That's not his deal. He doesn't believe. So he was just fortunate to be a part of it there. But, just awesome to have him there and him making the race calls and stuff for us. He also comes over and helps out a little bit during practice. So, he's got a great sense of race cars, so it's good to have his help.
Additional questions? Okay, follow up?
Yeah, obviously the car was really stout. But when you're, on those restarts with Carl behind you, what's it like to have such a power and such a good car that you're pulling away on the restart and you're just looking in your rearview mirror and you're just seeing him, immediately just start to fade? That has to feel pretty good as a driver to know you have that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that does feel good, and I don't necessarily think it was a lot to do with horsepower. I just think it was good jumps on the restart. I was able to get, I put the gas down first, and then it's his delay that just gets me the jump that I get, and then to have such a fast race car through the corners there, through 1 and 2, I'd already be up to about 5 or 6 car lengths, so to be able to have a car that sticks that well through the corner just makes it look that easy.
I know you probably talked about this before, but they always said like Hornaday is the master of restarts. Now you're kind of like the master of restarts. How did you acquire that talent, I guess, or how do you practice enough times to get that good at restarts?
I don't think anybody's really labeled me as the king of restarts yet. That's always going to be Hornaday, but I've sort of caught up to him a little bit, I feel like, anyways, and it is as good, if not right there with him, But as far as being able to learn that, it comes from my dad and teaching us the ropes of restarts back in the day, racing Legends cars, late models, all that stuff, and deciding different things with how to restart every time, and doing different things with gear ratios and all that stuff. We can't really decide it here, but just having a sense of that knowledge and stuff really kind of lays in and stays with you throughout your career.
Tim, Lee, Tim.
If I could ask you a question about the chase, I was wondering, how important is it knowing you have 3 tracks in the chase that you've already won at? What kind of a comfort level does that put you at, knowing you have those tracks in the future for you?
It doesn't give you any comfort, really. Anytime there's been guys that have been able to win both races at a particular racetrack, the sweep, if you will, for a year, but it hasn't happened a lot, and so I don't see it happening for us. I just see us trying to go there and having a good run. At Dover, we weren't the best car. We happened to get good pit strategy and get up front and take the lead, but I'm trying to think of the other tracks we've won at in the chase.
Was Talladega?
Talladega, that's a crapshoot anyway.
And,
I don't remember the third one. Atlanta. Ed Carl was the best car there, so it's you never know what can happen. And we won the race in the spring in Atlanta because Carl had engine trouble, and just the way things work out are sometimes different.
Lee Spencer, back to the question on restarts. How much of that is instinct and how much of it is technique is my first question.
It's both. It's a lot of just understanding of understanding restart basics, I guess. Restarts 101 first, and then, going into that and expressing that technique differently every time, or doing things that seem to make it work for you. You can't always do the same thing, and yet, you've always got to stay on top of your toes and be ready. You got to anticipate. And unfortunately for me, I've anticipated wrong in the past and have wrecked some cars on restarts. And that just, you got to know what tracks to do that at and what situations to look at things that you can do differently on restarts.
Obviously, it could come into play next week at Richmond like it did before. Does it also depend on who you're restarting next to?
It depends on who you're restarting next to, around, who you're in front of, who you're behind, who's leading the race, who's the restart, who's bringing you to the restart. You've kind of got to be cautious of everything and conscious of what's going on with all of what's around you. And so, Richmond's a tricky place on restarts because we're coming out of the corner. We're not straight when we take off, and so a lot of guys tend to get a lot of wheel spin there. I'm one of them. I get a lot of wheel spin there too. It's just a way of trying to get good restarts anywhere, and there's a technique to do it. And so, it's not really something you can teach. It's something that you kind of have to learn over time and bring it up with you throughout your years.
And finally, you had one of the most brilliant young crew chiefs during your race career with Alan over at Hendrick Motorsports. What's the difference between Steve, and what is it about his character and his technique that will make him a chase-winning crew chief?
I'm not sure. I mean, they're both just as driven to win races, to want to have the best race cars. They're both, I think Alan maybe was a little bit more like me, where, we were both on edge a little bit too much, and when you rattle us, we seem to spout off some. But Addington, he's been around the sport for a long time, and I've seen a lot of people come and go, and especially people in his position come and go. And so he takes it all with a grain of salt. He's kind of more relaxed and lets things go a little bit more, and he's more laid back, low key. And so I think that really helps out my relationship with the crew chief, because I think it worked a lot with Kurt and Jimmy Fenning too. Jimmy was sort of the older, let things roll off a lot more than having somebody on the pit box that would get you riled up. And, you arguing back and forth and fighting back and forth and stuff like that. And Addington and I, we don't do that. I can tell him the car's a complete piece of junk and we're leading the race, and he can come back and say, okay, well, let's fix it then, So it's, it's just a relationship that you get with different crew chiefs.
Jeff?
You have a penchant for making things look easy. You've been asked before, was it easy out there? So I won't ask that because I know it's never easy. But was this night easier than some other ones?
Oh, yeah. It's never easy, right, but this night was by far easier than some other ones that I've had in the past. What reminded me most of tonight was a car that I had in the 5 car in 2004 running for the championship that year at Michigan. We just stomped them that day at Michigan. I mean, it was just flawless. We had Mark Martin behind us, and he was the best in the business. We were able to beat Mark, so it kind of reminded me a little bit of that day. And, having some other great race cars in the past, but this is one for sure that you can remember.
Do you like it when you just come out and dominate like that, or would you rather kind of like, start 20th or have to work your way up and then beat somebody at the line in a close thing?
There's two ways to look at it, because when you're out front like that the whole time and leading the race, you don't know how much to work on your car. You don't know how much to change your car. Yeah, you're fast, but how much is the guy behind you holding back? You don't really know that. When you start 20th or 25th and you drive through the field, you can kind of see how quickly you drive through the field, what other guys are fighting, what they're doing, different adjustments that they're making throughout the race, and how if they're getting better. And so for me, tonight leading that many laps and staying up front like that's kind of a crapshoot. That's why you've always got to stay on top of your car. I mean, I could have left my car alone tonight, but I knew that if I did, I would have gotten eaten up. We had to make some changes to it, and I saw Carl a couple times was getting a little bit closer to me, but we were just able to keep kind of adjusting on the car and keeping it under me and being able to keep that gap.